Welcome to Impact Makers Radio, featuring industry thought leaders sharing problem-solving insights to help grow your business and live the life you love. And here's your host, Stuart Andrew Alexander.
Hi, this is Stuart Alexander back again with another exciting guest for you today. But before I bring him onto the show, I just want to tell you about a recent Forbes article that I was reading online. Now, in that article, it said, in a world where the term big data is being thrown around like the next coming, many business leaders still struggle to understand how more information is going to help make better decisions that drive their businesses forward. In another Forbes article, AI, as in artificial intelligence, is a black box, just like humans. And a third quote I read from Forbes said, AI must consider culture and context. Now, with that said, are you a large corporation with communication efficiency problems? Well, if that's you, you might want to listen to my guest today, Dr. Riza Berkan, who helps large corporations to solve their communication efficiency problems using artificial intelligence technology. And he's here today, ladies and gentlemen, to talk to us about some of the problems, misconceptions, unknown pitfalls and fears which prevent those large organizations which he helps from reducing labor costs, increasing communication quality, and their bottom line profits. So with that said, let's not keep him waiting any longer. Welcome to the show, Dr. Riza Berkan. Reza, are you there, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Yes, I am very good. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know how busy you are. So let's just jump straight in, Reza, with the first question in today's show. And could you just briefly describe in your own words, who's your perfect prospect, Reza? Who is it that you're out there helping?
Well, I help large corporations that want to use artificial intelligence technology to improve the efficiency of internal and external communication. And this technology is called chatbots. And chatbots have the promise that can replace or help a human operator for internal conversations with employees and for external conversations with clients. The promise is that up to about 90% of all conversations may be automated by chatbots to reduce labor costs, to improve communication quality, and scale up capacity.
Okay, I mean, that sounds really interesting, this whole AI, as in artificial technology, and these chatbots that you just mentioned. I'm sure you're going to dig a little bit deeper into that later on. But for now, can you, in your own words, just describe to me, let's say 2 or 3 common obstacles that prevent the organizations that you work with from reducing labor costs and increasing their communication quality and increasing their bottom line profits through the use of artificial intelligence?
Right. First of all, today everything is done manually. So you have human labor that is communicating with clients or employees on a one-on-one basis. So, Stuart, you could imagine, if I have 10 people in my company that answering questions on telephones or whatnot, you have a very restricted bandwidth. So, what do you do to increase that bandwidth, and how do you reduce the cost of having a human labor group like that? So that's where this conversational AI technology is supposed to come and solve the problems, but it's quite new, and the corporations are not fully aware of what these technologies can do and how they can be deployed. Also, the developers in the market, have not yet established well. That makes it difficult for corporations to make an investment into new technology.
Right. So the organizations that you help, they're not at this stage fully aware of the capabilities of the chat boxes that you bring to the table. Okay, it's not top of mind awareness at this particular moment. So with that said then, Reza, can you, and obviously keeping client confidentiality in mind, can you just share with us, if you will, an example of an individual or an organization that you have helped with this artificial intelligence technology, with these chat boxes, to reduce labor costs and increase the communication quality and increase profits and all those other great things that you help them to do? If you could just share a case study, or maybe two if you can, that would be fantastic.
Actually, I can mention one client's name. I have permission to do so, and that's the Wall Street Journal.
Let me just make sure that I heard you correctly. You did say the Wall Street Journal, right?
Yes.
So we're not talking, no disrespect to any small organizations. We're talking a huge corporate organization here.
Right. That's Dow Jones owns the Wall Street Journal. Right.
Okay, please go ahead. Thank you.
Right. So one of the projects that we did for them was a chatbot that could talk to their visitors and clients about the presidential elections in 2016. And so what we did for them is we collected all the presidential debates and put it into the chatbot system. So the people who had questions and who missed some of the facts mentioned in the debates could come and talk to this chatbot, and this chatbot would tell them, which candidates said what. So that was a kind of service that corporations like this value-added service to their clients and visitors, which would be very difficult to do it with the human labor, as you would imagine. And so that's one prime example as to how you can communicate with the external world about the products you have or about anything you have through chatbots.
Okay. Yeah, any other case studies you can share with us?
Yes, we have another one, which is in the travel business. And in the travel business, we put together this chatbot that could help the customers to identify a new travel spot that they had never considered before. And if you're a travel company, and if you are trying to answer all the phone calls with human labor, and giving this kind of service would cost so much money. But in our case, the chatbot we had was able to guide the visitors to find an appropriate travel spot for their specific requirements. And we had more than 100,000 conversations on the system, and the system worked fine. So these are the two I can tell you that it is has a very well-defined value and can be deployed effectively.
Now, moving on to our next question then, Reza, we're going to address some of the misconceptions that are out there, and maybe that will cover some of the questions that I have in the back of my mind, because up until this interview today, the kind of chat boxes that I personally, and I think most people out there, and even the larger organizations out there have had experience with, are somewhat clunky. They're, these automated responses that you get, and you could literally, I've used some of them where I could just put something silly in there like, hello, how are you? How are you having a nice day playing football? And then it will ask me, give me a canned response that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So this intelligence that you're speaking, this artificial intelligence that you're speaking about, I think there are some popular misconceptions out there that I'd like you to address in my next question, and especially for the larger organizations and these large corporations that you help. What are some of the misconceptions that you come across when you're out there speaking to them, Reza, and especially about using artificial intelligence to reduce their labor costs and increase their bottom line profits?
Right. So a very good point, actually. Probably the number one misconception is that the chatbots must converse as good as those seen in artificial intelligence movies to contribute to business. It's actually a misconception because if a chatbot is designed for a very particular function, all right, then the visitors and audience who comes to talk to the chatbot really they want to solve their problem. They not going to get into a chit chat conversation. There's a very good example actually. You could in the United States you could call Federal Express today, and they have a very nice conversational chatbot on the telephone. A very simple one. To you can tell the system asks you the drop address, and you want to drop your package, and then you just talk to it. And if you are a client and you want your package to be picked up, you're not going to get into a chit chat conversation with it. How you feeling today? Is it raining? I mean, I understand the uh, people's in general requirement for intelligence, but when it comes to really strictly doing business and solving your problem, many people don't get into that mode of conversation. They want their problem solved, and with the current level of intelligence that the chatbots have today, it's almost there. So that's the first misconception, and there's also another misconception. Even though it looks like a simple operation, some companies think that they could just create their own chatbot using their IT department, and it's nothing more than a coding challenge, which is not true. Even though it looks like a simple operation, the chatbot technology is actually very complicated, and you need specialized companies to deliver this technology.
Well, let's expand a little bit on that second misconceptions that companies think, we've got our IT guys, our IT department can handle that. Can you just expand a little bit on that and the danger surrounding that misconception, please, Reza?
Right, because a chatbot is a conversational system, and it's handling natural language. It's handling natural language is a very very difficult problem, and so unless you have people experience in your company with computational linguistics or this sort of technology and artificial intelligence technology, then it will be very difficult for a regular development person to be able to grasp and reproduce this kind of functionality. So, and there also there's another angle to it, which is known in the market as machine learning, and you need machine learning to be able to for chatbot to give the content to the user, and that's another angle to it. So it's complicated. So it's not very easy for regular code developers to reproduce it. So you really need to go and get it from companies that are specialized on that.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of the days when I initially started out in web development, which I don't really do anymore, but that's how I got my start back in 2003. And I used to build small websites for local businesses, and quite a lot of times I used to get the feedback, I have a cousin or my family member who's is an IT guy. He can build a website. We don't need the services of a professional. And the end result was the sites really looked like they were built by an IT person and not a web developer, right? So there's the danger, right? Is that yes, the IT department might be able to throw something together, but the end product it's going to show, that it was not built by a real professional, right?
Right, very good example. I mean, in your case, you need a graphics art designer, a marketing person who understand the business, the messaging, right, and how all these things, right? Very good analogy. Yes.
It's kind of a good segue actually into my next question. Let's talk a little bit about some of the unknown pitfalls that are out there. So, should any of these large corporations that you work with, or the individuals, CEOs, COOs who are listening to this show right now, and they're thinking about, yeah, Reza, we know all about this stuff. We can actually take care of this ourselves. We can bring in some professionals ourselves. If that's the case, and Reza, let's just share one or two unknown pitfalls that they might not be aware of when it comes to using artificial AI, and especially bringing in a service provider to do that for them.
Well, actually, there are solutions offered there. So if you are a corporation and you want to go that way anyway, and you want to do it regardless, one of the things that you may be underestimating would be the team that you have to put together, so that that team can really understand the solution offered by a third party. And so, if you hire two people, two experts, is that enough to do it? 5 people, is that enough to do it? So there's some kind of unknown effort in the back. And for instance, IBM is offering their chatbot platform. But when you use IBM, how much preparation do you have to do on your end to be able to understand their solution and apply that, take that route? So I think one of the biggest pitfalls is the long deployment cycles and the technologies that use like training and learning technology, and these requirements make an investment a difficult decision, really.
Any other unknown pitfalls that companies should be aware of?
No, I think this is the most important pitfall, that underestimating the effort. Even you are bringing third party into your company to implement their solution, you can still spend a lot of money and effort to deploy their solution.
Okay, so long deployment cycles and spending a lot of money by not, or ending up spending a lot of money by not being aware of those unknown pitfalls. Are there any other consequences out there that people need to be aware of?
The only thing I would say is that you need to really define your chatbot problem very well internally at the level of business decisions before you take that route. Let's say if you have an e-commerce site, let's assume you have an e-commerce site and you want to bring a chatbot technology into it. The question is, why do you want to do it? Do you want to improve the sales, or maybe you want to put a chatbot there that actually bargains with the client, right? So it says, okay, you buy this item, I'll give you another item 50% free. So it may engage into some kind of bargaining and giving deals. So at that point, you have really defined your goal. And once your goal is well defined, it's much better and easier to deploy this technology.
We just spoke about the kind of organizations that are more outward going in terms of getting out there and wanting to solve these kind of artificial intelligence challenges themselves by bringing in third parties. But on the other end of the scale, are there any companies, or are there the types of clients that you work with who actually fear bringing in artificial intelligence into their company to reduce labor costs and to increase their bottom line profits? That's at the other end of the scale. Do you come across that?
I know where you're going. The replacement of human labor will be a social problem down the road, but I don't think currently the companies are really considering it as a factor to be afraid of. For one thing, this technology can be deployed alongside with the existing human labor in the beginning, so you can actually reduce your labor gradually to see what is the optimal solution. And those people who are going to be replaced by a computer is not a new thing. The automation technology in the factories have done this 30 years ago, starting from 1970s. So from the social perspective, this is not something new. It's already happening. And I don't think this problem is a particular fear for artificial intelligence and chatbots in the market today.
So in terms of the return on investment, are there any fears surrounding that particular point from a perspective, if we invest X amount of dollars, will we get X amount back, and how long that would take? Is that something that you come across?
There's always a risk of investment because this is not like a product you are buying and you know what it's going to do and how it's going to be utilized. So this is these days, these are all experimental, but the risk involving with this kind of investments can be actually managed by companies who are offering these solutions with a pricing strategy. Like a company can come and say, well, try it for the first month, and if you see if you reach your goals, we'll start charging you. So things like that already happening in the market. So although there is a risk, I think it can be managed in the short term.
Reza, every time I ask this question, I always kind of giggle to myself because it sounds so obvious. But why would the organizations that you work with want to reduce labor costs, increase their communication quality or the quality of their communication and increase their bottom line profits? Why would they want to do that through the use of artificial intelligence?
Well, if you the promise is huge. I mean, if you can lower down your labor costs, in the same time increase the communication quality and your bandwidth, we're talking about higher profitability right there. So I'm paying less money, and I'm serving to more people. So it's very, very clear. The value is very clear. I think in compared to any other software that you buy for your business, I think the chatbot technology is very clear what it's supposed to do. And so that's positive because it's easier to see if it has a value offered and easier to actually make a strategy around it.
So tell me something, Reza. Let's think 5 years from now. Where do you see this chatbox technology going?
Well, definitely it's going to take over in increasing appearances in customer support, employee assistance, sales agents. So, and think about the young generations, right? So there's also a generational aspect to it. So there are market research that shows that younger generations, millenniums, whatnot, they are actually not bothered at all by talking to a computer because, they are so accustomed to it by playing computer games. So talking to a computer for them is not as a big thing as older generations like us, and we always come up with these very high requirements and saying, oh, is it intelligent enough to understand my emotions, my everything I say? These kind of questions are always coming from older generations, and younger generations don't really care much. It's almost similar to the confidentiality thing, and you see the young people are not scared of putting very personal information on the web. For some reason, this new generation, the way they were raised using computers and computer games, have a much different concept of it than the older generation.
Myself, I'm going to be 55 this year, even though I look like I'm 30. But that's
you do look like 30.
Beside the point. besides the point, right? But I remember, maybe this is maybe not a relevant analogy, but I'm going to share it anyway. I remember the very first time in my hometown back in the UK when my local supermarket introduced the automatic checkout
Oh yeah.
machines. And I remember having this huge resistance to that because I just love to check out and flirt with the checkout girls and have a little chat and say hello, etc. And I refused for months on end to use these automatic checkout machines. But slowly but surely, because of convenience, I checked it out and slowly started to see the advantages of using such machines. Now we've got to the point where there are more of those machines than the actual checkout ladies themselves, and it's just something that's become part of my everyday life. So I think even though you touched on how young people embrace technology, I think also the baby boomer generation, like myself, we're quite savvy as well when it comes to technology. We may take a little bit longer to adapt to it, to warm to it, but I think we're just like anybody else that when it comes to convenience, we do embrace the technologies. So thanks for sharing that with us, Reza.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So at this point, Reza, I mean, you shared some really good information. We spoke about some of the obstacles that are out there that prevent the organizations that you work with from reducing their labor costs and increasing their bottom line profits. You gave some tips about some of the misconceptions that are out there and some of the unknown pitfalls for companies to be aware of should they start looking at third-party solutions. You've also addressed some of the fears that prevent some of these organizations from even considering using artificial intelligence. So you shared quite a lot of information, and I'm sure anybody listening at this stage would like to know more about Riza Berkan. Who is this guy? Who's Dr. Riza Berkan? Where does he come from? What's his backstory, and how does it link to what he does today? So if you could, in your own words, just share a little bit about your own story, Riza, and how it links to your solutions, the things what you're doing with artificial intelligence today, so that the listeners can just get to know a little bit more about you as the person, the man behind the technology, please.
Sure. Thanks for this opportunity, though. I'm originally Turkish. I came to the United States about 30 years ago, and I've studied physics and nuclear engineering, and I worked for the U.S. government for a while. But all that time, even though I'm a nuclear guy, I've spent a lot of attention on artificial intelligence projects, and to the point that I ended up writing a book in 1997. So I got really into information handling, search, semantics, and that sort of things. And then I started my own companies around 2000, specifically focused on semantic search and conversational systems. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, my background. It's a little strange, but believe me, people in this field have very strange backgrounds like me.
Sure. So how does that all link to artificial intelligence and the chatbots technology that you're using today?
I have a company right now, and we are doing chatbot technology for corporations. And one of the things that, after all this experience, I realized that the best value for corporations is to use this technology without any knowledge or without any prerequisites or without any coding effort. So, and we call this thing, we have a term, we called it digital cloning, which is almost like cloning a person's expertise and putting it into a machine. And so I think what we are working on right now will have probably a value to corporations, because we're trying to reduce the effort of creating a chatbot to a mere editorial effort. So, Stewart, you will be able to create your own chatbot, just like using an editor, and put your life story, ideas, expertise into it. If you want to push a button, and there it is. So that's the kind of direction we're going.
Is there anything that I have, or maybe haven't mentioned, a question I haven't asked you, or in other words, a last piece of advice, your best piece of advice to those ideal clients of yours out there, those large corporations that you help? What could you share with them as their best piece of advice for reducing those labor costs and increasing the quality of their communication with their customers and ultimately increasing their bottom line profits? What would you like to say to those people, please?
Well, I would like to tell them that to have an open mind, and if you want to survive in this rapidly changing landscape, you really have to be moving along with new technology, and they should be, of course, careful about making investments, but they should have an open mind, because by the time you think about it and you decide to get into it, the technology may have actually evolved to the next stage, so you will be always one step behind. So that would be really my advice. And the saying that new technology is always overestimated in the beginning and underestimated in the long run. So I think that's the best advice, that don't overestimate in the short run and don't underestimate in the long run, and always be in the game.
I remember reading that someone once said the internet was a fad and it would fade away. So
right.
I think we've all seen how that things have developed there. So that's a great analogy. So Reza, if there is somebody out there who does want to know more about you and your technology and your company, they want to know how you can help them. They want to know how they can connect with you. If that's the case, then Reza, what's the best way for people to be able to get hold of you?
The best way is to find me on LinkedIn, Riza Berkan. Also, they can come to our website called exClone.com. So they could see what we're doing, or from the LinkedIn, they could actually send me a personal message and I will respond.
Perfect. I'll ensure that your contact details are on the website underneath the recording of your show. So yeah, that's it, Reza. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a really interesting conversation with you today. I think the technology that you're using out there can change a lot of people's lives, not just the companies, but more importantly, the customers, the consumers. Time is money, and I think you're on the right track with this technology. I think it's going to make a huge difference in people's lives and save a lot of time, money, and improve communications within large corporations, which we all know is a huge challenge in any corporation. And I'm so glad that you've got your finger on the pulse with this. So with that said, Reza, could you just say goodbye to our listeners for the final time?
Thank you, Stuart. And this was a very good show, and I'm very impressed by your capability. Really, I call you the genius of communication. You remember that?
Yeah.
This is set up very well. I'm very impressed. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, keep going. It's okay. I've got time. Keep going. Listen, I always say the stars of my show are my guests. Without them, the show wouldn't be anything. And it's interesting conversations like this that keep my show going. So I gladly accept your compliment with gratitude, but I extend my thanks to you also.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you're so welcome, Reza. That was Dr. Riza Berkan from exClone.com. Please go and check him out. exClone, that's exClone.com. Also check him out on LinkedIn. You are certainly going to be in the right hands. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This was Stuart Andrew Alexander saying thank you, goodbye, and we'll talk real soon. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Impact Makers Radio. To listen to all past, present and future industry thought leaders and trendsetters, visit us at impactmakersradio.com.